Okay, this is pre-algebra lesson 9.5, congruence. Congruence is, they have the same size and shape. Similar means that they could have a different size, but they have the same dimensions, the same proportions. We'll do that in a second. Anyway, looking at two triangles, to know that they're congruent, there's three different ways to know whether two triangles are congruent. Because listen, the one I just showed you, if I gave you this, I'm just going to draw them. I'm not going to be all exact. There's a triangle here, and then I give you a triangle here. Is it possible that those two triangles, just because I drew them quickly, is it possible that they're congruent? Yes. Here's how you know. Okay, there's only three ways to know. If I gave you angles only, this is very important. If I gave you angles only, like I showed you before, if I said this is a 40 and this is a 50, and this one will say that I didn't draw that one very well, but let's just say that I drew it a little more, and I said this was 50 and this was 40. Angles is just how wide the line is, right? I mean, just how wide the angle is. Couldn't I draw a giant one like this and have it be this, and this be 40, and this be 50? Couldn't I do that? And so then would they be congruent at that point? No. Would this guy and this guy be congruent? No. So then having all the angles be the same does not make a triangle congruent with another triangle. Because you can have a very small one and a very big one, and they would have the same exact angles. Does that make sense? In order for you to have a set of congruent triangles, you have to have three things. One of three things. If all three sides are exactly the same length, side, 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 then you know that the triangle is congruent. If a triangle has three of the exact same sides, you're guaranteed that the angles will be the same, the triangles will have the same length sides, they will be congruent. Does that make sense? If all three sides, so if I told you that this and this and this and this and this and this, if I did that, and I told you that this line right here, this side of the triangle, and this side were the same, and this were the same, and this were the same, then based on its sides, all three sides being the same, we know that these two triangles are congruent. We know this. Even not knowing any angles, we know they're congruent. It's just part of the rules of triangles. Okay? If I did the same looking thing here, whatever, and so side, 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 meaning SSS, that's the way you use it. If all the sides are congruent, same sides, the triangles are congruent. If I have side, angle, side, in other words, if I have this and this side is that length, and this side's this length, and I come over here, and I tell you that this and this, that this side plus this angle plus this side, and I have this over here, the same thing, this guy and this guy, angle and this side, if they're all the same, if on one triangle you have a side and an angle and a side, they all has to go like that. It has to go side, angle, side. Notice it went like this. It went side, angle, side in order. Side, angle, side. If that's true, then you know the true triangles are congruent because of side, angle, side. Does that make sense? Okay. You can also have an angle. Say I call this, let's say this is 50 degrees, and then this is a side, and then this is an angle. That would be how much? 90. Over here, I have the same thing. If this is 50 degrees, angle, and then, right, like that. Here we go. So angle, side, angle, side, angle. If they're all the same, if in each triangle they have the exact same angle, then a side, then an angle, then you know that the two triangles are congruent. That's all you need to know in order to prove that those two triangles are congruent. So that would be angle, side, angle. So you can have, I'll put it down here, angle, side, angle. What you cannot have to make it true would be this. You cannot have, if I have this triangle here, and then I do the same thing over here, and I did this side, And then I did this side, and then I did this angle, not this side like that, no, one down here. Yeah. And then I have this angle, and this, and this. This right here, this would be side angle, SSA. That does not prove anything, okay? That does not prove anything. What are the three that you have to have in order to prove that two triangles are congruent?
Angle, side, angle.
Angle, side, angle.
Side,
Side, and side, angle, side. That is the three proofs that two triangles are congruent. Okay? So, let me show you practically why we do this. Okay, let me show you. What if I gave you this right here? Okay, and I said there's this, and then there's this and this. And I was to ask you, are those two triangles congruent? And then you have to not only tell me if they're congruent, if you say yes, you have to say why. Why are these two triangles congruent? Are they congruent for sure, and why? Think. I want you to think before I ask anybody. I want you to think. Are those two triangles congruent? Do you have an answer, Jack? What is the answer?
No.
What is your answer? What's your answer? They are. These are congruent. Then there's a reason. There's a proof. You're staring at it. What were my options again? What were my options to make two triangles? What does SSS mean? Side. What else?
Side, angle, side.
Angle, side, angle, and side, angle, side. Do you agree? Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this. What have I given you? What do you know is congruent about these two things? The sides, right? You know that this side right here, you know that side and this side are congruent, right? And you know that this and this are congruent. So all we right now have is side, right? Is that enough? Is side enough? No. But so in order for this, we either need this side to say this. If I gave you that, then you would go, are they congruent?
Yes.
You'd say yes. How come?
Because all three sides.
Because you'd say because the proof is because of
SSS.
side, right? That's the proof. But I didn't give you that. I didn't. So what else do we need then? We have two sides, so then don't we need side, angle, side? Don't we need that? Well, what do you know is true about this angle and this angle? What do you know is true about them? They're vertical angles, and vertical angles are, they're congruent. Whenever two lines cross, the opposite angles, right? That guy is congruent, and so is this guy. Those two are congruent, right? Do you agree? So then do I need to draw that, or don't we already know that that and that are congruent?
You already know.
We already know that. So then now that you look at that, are these two triangles congruent?
Yes.
Yes. How come? Because what is the proof? Because of angle, side, angle. Not angle, side, angle. Side, angle, side, right? Side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. Do you see what I'm talking about now? I didn't draw that for you, but that's because you already knew that vertical angles are congruent. Right? So you know that this angle and this angle are equal. I just didn't draw that because that's something you already know. Yeah.
So if you were to detach the top and the bottom, you're allowed to flip the top one?
Absolutely. We're just talking about shapes, right? I mean, is this shape, listen. Is this the shape of my book? What about now? What about now? What about now? Right? It's still the same shape, right? Let me see what else we got here. Okay, what about this? They ask you to complete these statements. If they tell you, let me give you a triangle here. We'll give you this triangle, and we'll call this A, B, C. and we know that this is this, and we know that this is 40 degrees. If that's 40 degrees, how much does that have to be? How many degrees?
50.
How do you know?
Because the 90 degrees, everything adds up to 180.
Everything adds to 180, right? All internal angles of triangles add to 180. These are just rules, right? So I could ask you to tell me what that angle is, and it has to be 50, because if this is 90 and that's 40, then this has to be 50. But okay, whatever. There's that, and then I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to tell you that they are congruent. This is 40 degrees, and this, okay? And what if I said that this was 10 inches, okay? Here's the deal. If that's 10, and then this is 6 inches, and this is 12 inches. Okay, here's the deal. And I was to ask you, okay, so A, B, C, D, E, F. If I was to ask you, and I told you that these two triangles were congruent, okay? I told you they're congruent. What is DE? DE is congruent. Oh, sorry. The word, the symbol for congruent is an equal sign with a squiggly line on top. So it's like 3 lines. It's an equal sign with a squiggly line on top. That's congruent. What is congruent to DE? Right? BC is, right? So you say BC. Good. Actually, it wouldn't be BC. DE would be CB. Right? But you're right. You would put it BC. That's fine. What would be the length of DE? DE equals, so if I said DE is congruent with BC, but what is DE equal to? 12 inches, right? Do you see that? I mean, if they're similar, then you have to find that length here, the hypotenuse. Got to find the hypotenuse. Oh, there they are, is 12 inches. Does that make sense? You're just looking at the two shapes and you're comparing them. Yeah, I think you guys can do this now. I think you guys can do this. Let me give you your homework. That way you don't have any tonight. Page 482 to 483, 1 through 34 even. Like I said, there's really not a lot of math to do here. It's just looking at and being able to wrap your brain around this stuff. So anyway, there you go.